it wasn't necessarily meant for us.
Okay, I just want to first say, I think people get mad at me for this, but I think there's such a detachment from the coalition portion of like the ABC conference. Like, we focus so much time and effort into the actual conference that I think we don't spend enough time like as a coalition, like creating our own social and cultural capital. Like, what do we value? Like, each school is responsible for bringing something to the table, but at the end of the day, like, what are we collectively coming together and saying, this is something serious, this is something affecting our community, like, these are, like, we need to narrow it down, because all of the workshops, all of us voting on whatever we want to focus on and work on for the school year, at the end of the once the next year comes, like, when we report back, honestly, like, where have we done, what strides have we honestly made, what work have we put in to see what we said we wanted to be our focus, to where has our work been placed and gone to? So, because you see in those that have come before us, they came together and they invested into their communities. They didn't have the money to do it, but they created their own schools. They generated their own schools because they were able to come together and say, this is something we feel that's important. Education, literacy equals freedom to us. Like, we are generating our own social and cultural capital because we can't depend on someone else to do it for us because they don't understand our predicament. So for us to come together and kind of be like, okay, we're a coalition. But I honestly, like, I'm kind of new as being an ABC rep, but I haven't really heard from the other campuses, like, where people's heads are at, what are going on at your campuses. Like, I think there needs to be way more communication as to, like, what's going on in your campus. Never should it be so much disconnect from the coalition aspect and so much more focus on the conference. I mean, the conference is important, but the coalition is equally as important to me.
So what we're taking from it is that there's something bigger going on than the conference, and it deals with these values that you were talking about. What do people respect and think that's important? Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh, touching off what Nick was saying, when you were saying, what was it, that we're not supposed to be doing this or something, or we're not supposed to be here. When historically black universities like Howard were first created, they were created for black students to go into agriculture or education. That's it. Not medicine, not law or anything like that, that's all. So I think that in forming the African Black Coalition, we're working to go outside of the norm and to escape the norm and to escape what's expected of us, to become more than that, so we can better ourselves and our communities as one, as a whole. And when she's saying we need to work together as a coalition is one. So I do agree when you're saying, like, we're going to ABC and we're working on these different issues and stuff like that, but we're not really focusing on being one. It's just kind of like, okay, let me rep my school right quick and spit some of these issues, say what we're trying to do. And I know Merced brought up earlier when we were outside that you guys were disappointed that we voted on retention as a critical issue, because as what I got from what you were saying that you guys took care of what you had to do. So you were expecting to work on something different. And when we came to ABC in Irvine last year and voted on that issue again, it seemed like all the schools weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. If we have to repeat that critical issue a second time. So it's not like it's a waste of our time, but I mean, like, we should be, we should be very critical, and we should really focus on that issue instead of just playing around and just saying, like, okay, like, this is what we're going to be doing, like, we'll make this little video or something for ABC. But we really do need to focus on working on those critical issues if we're going to succeed as one unit.
Critical issues, increased communication. That medicine thing boggles the mind, right? When we look back to Kemet in Abyssinia, right? Ancient Ethiopia. We're talking about foundations of medicine. We're talking about the first writings, right? Hieroglyphics and before, which is in our history. How is it that we're in a place right now where we're being sent to schools that are for agriculture and education alone? What happened in that time? Maybe that'll give us some clarity on how we're here today, why we're here today.
Well, I don't really want to touch bases on nutrition stuff.
Fair enough.
I wanted to touch bases on,
Brittany.
Because I feel like it's really important that we unite the coalition. When we got the conference, I'm from the school setting, and we got the conference, and we started in the summer, and I told the people that were there at the time, we want to unite the coalition. Like the conference will come in May, but let's work on the coalition. Let's work on uniting. And I spoke to Jewel about this as well. I mean, I sent out emails to every UC rep I had and gotten 2 responses. 2. And I said, let's start communication. Let's start a newsletter every month. And so that everybody knows what's going on, so that we have some accountability within the coalition, so that we know, okay, what are you doing at your school to tackle the critical issue right now. And I mean, I had the UC-wide person develop a template for the newsletter, and I publicized it on Facebook. I did everything, and no, we still have no response from the schools. So that now that you guys are here today, I'm like, let's work on something, let's get something going, because we need to, 1, start working on the critical issue that we have, and 2, start working on the communication, because it wasn't that I'm not trying, because I'm trying to, because I said I looked at the past conferences and I got feedback, and I said, let's move in the direction to the original intent of the ABC. Let's not go on what happens in the past. Let's move to the original intent. Let's revamp ourselves. That's what I told the planning committee this year, and that's what we're really trying to work on. So now that we're here, let's talk about how we're gonna do that. These discussions are really important and really good, but due to time and everything else, I feel like we should spend most of our time talking about what we're gonna do and the actions that we're gonna take, and then.
So that's a really good point, and I keep referring back to this leadership thing, because if we don't have a structure, it's like leading a meeting with no house rules, right? It's really not gonna get anywhere. But we wanted to come up with some content, right? Try and get people on the same page ideologically to some degree first, before we moved into that. And then once we're in that, I think some of those ideas of communication, for instance, meeting once a month, or those using Facebook applications, will be more ingrained within us as an institution.
Thank you. Because what structure is what I was hearing, is that there needs to be a lot of structure and talking about accountability. And one thing that I kept hearing when I was organizing was, this institution is not really set up for us to institutionalize our own stuff, because folks are graduating 4 years, 5 years, and then a new flush of folks come out, and it's like, okay, so what is this and what, So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy that you guys have opened up this space to myself and Jewel. But being able to have structure so that there is accountability within the coalition is really important. And I think that there's certain conversations, there's certain things that you might need to talk about before you can move on to talk about the conference or talk about what the platform is going to be for ABC in general. But I think one thing that I said earlier, if I didn't, I just wanted to say it again, is there should be an issue for the coalition and things that just are for the coalition, not just for the year, but period. And there should be things that there should be a focus of the conference of issues that folks want to talk about. And like having those personal stories so that different folks are in communication. Because in the conference, that's really the first time that a lot of students get off the campus and get to see other Black students of the University of California. So I think one good point was the conversation that came up earlier, and do you value your migration story versus immigration? And that might be something that is going to be a conference workshop that you only talk about for 45 minutes. But what things are you going to actually take back to your campus and really be responsible for and accountable for, making sure that your individual campus is working on? So, and if folks on your campus aren't necessarily showing